Hello everyone, this is Gary with your cards of the day, and the reading that I'm going to do today is actually a request from bobowis, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. The request was specifically for a format that incorporated the cards, the crystals and the pendulum. So I thought this would be an interesting thing to try, as I have incorporated the crystals with the cards before, but in a slightly different way. So what I'm doing today, I've drawn 3 cards from 3 traditional tarot decks, very much in the way that I normally do, and I'll just quickly go through the decks. We have the Morgan Greer Tarot, we have the Shaman Caselli Tarot here, and we have the Robin Wood Tarot here. And as you can see, I have my pendulum out as well, but I'm also going to be using this arch of crystals, and that is how I'm going to be incorporating them, because I'm going to use the pendulum to select the crystals, really as a way of looking, not so much looking at the energy of each card, which I'm going to do with the pendulum before I turn them over, but really as a way of looking at what we can do with each of the cards. So as a card comes up that has a particular feel to it, that has a particular meaning to it, the crystal will be a way of working with that energy, and hopefully this will become clear as the reading progresses. Just to run very quickly around the crystals, we have clear quartz, amethyst, sodalite, green aventurine, rose quartz, yellow calcite, carnelian, red jasper, hematite, angelite, seraphinite, rainbow fluorite, sodalite, euconite, and green jasper. And each of these stones has a meaning that I have assigned to them, so I can read them kind of in a similar way to the cards. So let's start off by looking at the energies blind, in a sense, of each card. So start with the pendulum, and then as I move over here, the energy that we get over this card is an anti-clockwise rotation, which to me suggests a feminine energy. It's quite a strong energy though, so it's quite a forceful feminine that we have here, and it does feel rather cool. Interestingly, when I drew these, I placed my hand over them. This came out as very, very cool. Now I'm going to move back to the center, and I've got a neutral swing here going on. That's kind of what I'm telling the pendulum to do at this point. As I move to the top card, you'll see the swing change. What we have is a bottom left to top right, which for me is a kind of an assertive energy. It's an action energy. And then I move back to the middle, and we go one more time, and this time we look for it to change, and it's getting there. What we've gone now is left to right, which for me is quite a balanced energy. It can be a number of things, but it's kind of balanced, non-moving forwards. It's very stationary. It's a very stationary energy. It's an energy I often get with cards that indicate that forward movement isn't really happening or isn't really possible. So let's have a look at what cards we have got and what they indicate for today. Then I will incorporate the crystals as a way to sort of deal with each of the cards. So our first card today is the Queen of Pentacles. As you recall, we had that very strong feminine energy. Indeed, we have a queen. This feels like it's really important today to nurture ourselves on a physical level. It doesn't feel so much like a healing energy at the moment, but it does feel very much like we need to look after our physical being, perhaps, take care of things on a financial level as well, but really be very solid and grounded, and in a sense not too hard on ourselves. The Queen of Pentacles to me always feels like a very almost mothering energy, so it really is a case of looking after ourselves. And I'm very drawn actually to the russet colours in this card here, in these sort of leaves that are around her, which feels quite autumnal to me, even though we are in the sort of middle of summer. And this very much does feel like it's sort of earthy, lower chakra kind of energy. So really stay grounded, stay positive, and really nurture yourself today on a physical level. Look after yourself. That's the sort of the feel that I get from this card. Now, our next card that's quite interesting as well, the Ace of Wands. If you recall, actually we had as if the one was going the opposite diagonal, we actually had a very sort of forward moving, decisive energy. And what we're dealing with here is a card of potential, really. It's sort of raw passion, raw power for moving things forward, but it's not really manifested as of yet. So it does feel very much like what we're doing with this is we're kind of storing up energy, we're storing up that potential, and then at a later stage it's going to be released and utilized, but it's in its raw form at the moment and hasn't taken a particular shape or a particular direction. It can be, interestingly enough, I'm getting a feeling of almost recharging, almost like a bit like the mobile phone, sort of plugging ourselves into the charger. That's kind of the feeling I get. It's just gathering that energy to us. And then, as I say, we have the potential there to make that decisive move at a later stage. Now, our third card, which had the very sort of left to right balanced non-moving energy, is the Devil, which is kind of interesting because numerologically yesterday was a devil day, so to speak, a 15, which means that today we have a 16-7. So what we have is, it's actually a Tower day. We have Tower and we have Chariot, I believe, and it's kind of an interesting, that's kind of an interesting thing in itself, but I'm going to leave that to one side for the moment and concentrate on the Devil. And here what we have is an indication of sort of restriction. Now, in this context, it makes me think that perhaps this is a deliberate restriction. It's almost like limiting what you try to do today, limit what you try to achieve. There could indeed be some sort of things that need to be got rid of, things that are holding you back anyway. But it also, I do get this very, very strong feeling of this almost deliberate, self-imposed kind of standing still is the very, very strongly the feeling that I get with this. And you sort of, also one other thing that kind of strikes me is the way that these two figures are facing, because we have one figure facing backwards as if towards the past, and one figure facing forwards as if towards the future. So we're in that kind of point of really looking in both directions and kind of deciding what's next based on what has gone before. So it really is a kind of a standing still kind of energy. Now, having done the cards, let's have a look at the crystal energies that will help us to work with each of these. So we have nurturing on a physical level, we have gathering our strength and gathering our potential for action, and we have a kind of self-imposed standing still and self-imposed restriction. Let's have a look at how the crystals want to work with these energies. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set my pendulum off going in a circle, as I always do, and then I'm going to concentrate on the Queen of Pentacles, and we have a response, as you can see, and I'm looking for the particular crystal that it says will work with this. And when I get there, which is almost at a camera shot, I'm getting a rotating energy. So when I'm not over the crystal, it doesn't rotate, and when I am, it does. And I'm going to take the crystal separately and put that with the card. So we have Lapis Lazuli, which is quite an interesting one to get, actually, especially in this context. That's quite an interesting crystal for us to come up. Now I'm going to go back to the center again, set the pendulum going, and this time I'm focusing on the Ace of Wands. And again, we have a strong energy over this way this time. Again, this is almost at a camera shot, but just about visible. And this time, what it has picked out is Green Aventurine. And then, one final time, starting in the center, set it off rotating. And this time, I'm focusing on the Devil card. I'm going to ask the crystal to respond. And we're over this way again. And that's quite interesting, because we've got, this time, we have the Unakite stone. So it's kind of interesting. So what we're looking at here is how these specific crystals work with the energy of the card that they have, in a sense, attached themselves to. And we'll just look at that now. The first thing that came up was Lapis Lazuli in association with the Queen of Pentacles. And what you have with Lapis is a stone of truth and enlightenment, really. It's a third eye stone. And being that it's a blue stone, it's a very gentle stone. So the feeling here very much is one of getting to know yourself. You've got this energy with the Queen herself of being very sort of grounding and very caring of yourself on a physical level. But part of that is really knowing yourself on a very deep level, and in essence having no illusion around it. There's a slightly less polite way of putting it, which I'm going to avoid using, but really see things as they truly are within yourself. So for example, don't be expecting too much of yourself. You might be expecting your body to climb mountains, run marathons, that kind of thing, when it really is not capable of doing it. So it's a case of knowing your body inside and out, knowing yourself, knowing what you need to do in order to look after yourself, and understanding that. So there's a degree of kind of truth and enlightenment in understanding your physical body very well, and it makes it more easy to actually take care of yourself. Now, the Green Aventurine that came out in association with the Ace of Wands is a stone of healing. It's a stone, it can be associated sometimes with luck and with good fortune as well. But what I'm getting here is the healing energy. I'm getting the healing colour of green. So the energy that we have, the potential that we have that we're storing up, you remember I said we had this feeling of storing up energy. We're using that to heal. And we're using that to get ourselves into, in a sense, peak condition, which kind of combines with the Queen anyway. And that's before we make any moves forward. Now with the Unakite, what we have here is a stone of rebirth and release, and a stone of balancing things. And if you remember, the energy that we got here was extremely balanced. It was a left-right swing. So what we've got is a self-imposed restriction, because what we're working with is releasing the past, rebirthing ourselves, and really making sure that we are getting all the sort of little things in a row. It's sort of balancing things out and making sure that we're in a good space, having let go of things that we need to let go of, again in preparation for forward movement. So let's just do a quick sort of recap. We have Queen of Pentacles, which is a physical nurturing, taking care of ourselves, being kind to ourselves, combined with Lapis Lazuli, which is about truth and enlightenment and understanding. In this context, understanding ourselves very, very deeply and very clearly. And again, it's a very gentle energy. With it being blue, it always strikes me as a very gentle energy. We have the Ace of Wands, which is that fiery potential that is as yet unformed. And so what we're doing is we're storing up energy, and we're using some of that energy in a healing sense to get ourselves into absolute prime condition, fully recharged, fully healed, ready for moving forwards. And then we have the Devil, which is in this instance a kind of self-imposed restriction, so that we're not trying to do too much, we're not trying for too much, combined with Unakite, which is about release and rebirth. So we're letting go of things that we need to let go of, letting go of the past, which is where the figure is looking, and looking forwards to the future and to things coming in, which is where the opposite figure is looking. So I hope you've enjoyed these cards, crystals and pendulum of the day. I do think it was a really cool idea, and I'm very glad that it was suggested to me. Please feel free to leave me some comments and let me know how these themes interact with your day today. And if you have any other suggestions for possible reading formats, or maybe ways of combining the various decks that I have, or the various crystals that I have, or anything of that type, or just throw me some interesting ideas, that'll be very nice and very cool to hear. Please also feel free to check out my website, www.theseerscave.webs.com, for more information about myself, my tools, and the readings that I offer. I want to wish everyone a really happy, regenerating, balanced, and loving day today, whatever it is that you do, and wish love, light, blessings, and freeth to you all.